from the Terran player, they aren't really thinking of it, can steamroll them. So in my mind, I'm imagining Lambo, especially on their first map of this series, Data C, actually going for that big swell in the mid game, and Maru just kind of underestimating it just by like 10-15%, but then it snowballs into Lambo's victory. So we'll see if that actually plays out that way. I would sound amazing if that actually does happen. And top right is the purple Zerg. It is Lambo.
And in the bottom left, our yellow Terran player representing Onside Gaming, we have Maru.
So you have to deal with everything that Maru can do, which includes proxy raxing, which I really don't think he's actually been that much about lately.
Yeah.
You got the bio in the mid game. You got his clever 2-base pushes that he was bringing out in that lower bracket of TSL 9. Again, against Ragnarok and Solar, he brought out 2-base pushes and then actually kind of, transfigured it kind of at a moment's notice when it was scouted and actually still made it look good as well. And then we have Maru also still in the back pocket, that mech that he displayed at Valencia. And just super, super long turtle games, mech or bio, I suppose, right? So there's basically like all forms of Maru in this matchup are scary. There's no real saying like, well, if he does this, then I'm worried about him in this. It's like, well, if he does that, then that's what Maru wanted to do, and probably going to go with it.
Just loving the casualness of Maru there. He's just one hand off the keyboard, warming his hand up with a little hand warmer and stuff, sitting at 0 APM for about 10 seconds till he had to build an SCV with one hand and then go back to warming his hands up. Does feel uncomfortable here as we get things started. Very standard, of course, in terms of the builds. We'll be seeing if anything too exciting happens over the next little while. Like you say, I think Maru can definitely come in and just kind of hit him in a bunch of different ways. And I feel like Maru's strength as well is if he wants to be aggressive and it doesn't quite work out, he is so good at just delaying the game, like we saw in the TVT yesterday. He can do that in TVZ2, draw it out, and just make it so tough for the Zerg to ever end the game.
Right, exactly. That still exists in his other matchups as well. You don't see that spray too often. Anyways. So yeah, Maru has that option as well, but that's why I was saying that if he does kind of set him on his back foot and then just keep on punching the guy, I do think that Maru is more likely to break in this matchup or a TVP alternative. But basically, it's not like TVT, where anytime Maru's on the back foot even, I'm just like, I don't think it matters. Like he's gonna come back anyways. Now on TVZ, I do believe that if Lambo gets like a nice run by, gets a nice surround, just kind of offsets Maru's tempo, then that can absolutely be a way that Lambo would be able to get, 1 victory, 2 victories. I still think that as far as taking the entire series, most people are going to favor Maru. But being competitive, making it look closer than people expect, 100% Lambo can do that.
100% agree with you as they just watch the Reaper hop in, trying to keep on picking up information as much as possible here. Otherwise, we do start to see some establishment back at home from the Terran, a tech lab on that barracks starport coming up. Not a lot of gas really available here, so I would say we're likely just to see maybe like a Viking or so early, and then maybe the barracks just get stim started a little bit afterwards. Or we could still swap around and just build 1 Banshee as well. That is a possibility. Then use the additional gas for Cloak a bit further down the line. Feels like that's what's happening, because right now we have nothing else building from barracks or starport, so they're probably swapping over as Lambo comes in for a little bit of a scout here. At the same time, Maru is on the other side. First Reaper and a couple of Hellions looking to get something done. And I tell you what, CG, it's actually a Raven on the way from Maru to start things out. So that's actually pretty unique, something that we do see sometimes on these larger maps, just to help establish some creep control.
It does feel like it's becoming a little bit of the flavor of the month. It's feel like about a month ago, maybe Valencia. It was still relatively uncommon, but now it feels like it's seen it in 2 out of 5 games in a best of 5. Yeah, I'd say it actually got up to that point. Point is, yeah, it's much more common. So, as far as to why it is common nowadays versus not so much in the past, I feel like we could really think on that and give an explanation. But I don't know if the map design is really the problem there, because that would be the most significant difference between now and then. But the point is, it is being used now effectively, and whenever it was used in the past, we knew kind of the gist of what it wanted to do. The conclusion was almost always, though, that it didn't benefit enough. Plus, there's always the chance that you miss Micro the Raven, as it does have that top priority. It can, even for, feels like the pros, sometimes be a little bit of a slip up, but pushing back that creep spread, sometimes, I think in TSL 9, we saw it do it once. Fantastic, undeniably impactful. The poor Zerg player could not get something going. But in other games, it's been like meh. So I don't know what it's going to be like for this, but Lambo already having some trouble there on the 4th base.
Yeah, that drone had to back away and then try to become a Evo chamber to survive. Cancelled, got out. It is only 6 Hellions, right? Which sometimes with the Raven you go a bit more because you want to scrap more with the Queens. You want to have as much presence as possible on the map. So what's really cool about this is that Maru's actual bio follow-up is not really that slowed down. This is just the equivalent of building 6 Hellions and a Liberator or so, right? So the bio play is going to be pretty quick. It's usually you expect it to be a bit slower. We'll see if that's something that comes into play over time here. There's Lambo and his Evo Chambers online. His Balin speed's coming up as well, of course. He's just prepping for that Ling Bane mid-game. And Maru will definitely have some time. I mean, his 1-1 is going to be so far ahead with the way that Maru and Lambo have both opened.
Right, yeah, I was just going to bring that up. That's really quite concerning. Okay, Lambo's going to go right into a Hydralist end. So it's definitely not what I've been seeing from Lambo, because it honestly was like 4 best of... Well, 2 best of 3s and like a best of 5 or something like that over the last couple of weeks, where on Data C in particular, he was just going for like... I mean, you called an all-in off of like 5 hatcheries, a bit weird, but the point is like not tech-heavy, right? Just pure Ling Baneling. But no, changing it up right now, but those upgrades going to be a problem. Actually getting to enough Hydras to impact could be a problem, as the first push already is underway, already clearing up a lot of creep. The amount of Banelings that are available for this push also a little bit low, but it looks like Maru is going to go for the easy pickoff on the 5th hatchery. It was a cancel, but as I said, it's easy enough. Backs away for now.
2 Overlords died as well, so he's heavily supply blocked Lambo, and 8 were on the way at once, which just emphasizes how bad that actually turned out to be. And now Maru's going to have the upgrade advantage for the next minute or so. If he can force a fight with 1-1 and these reinforcing units coming across, he still has the Hellions, remember, for a bit of splash. Well, that's going to go very well. The auto turret came down pretty quickly there, though, before a fight happens, but I mean, at this point, the Raven's just a bonus.
Oh, okay. So Maru, once again, I guess, feeling good. We asked him about this after one of, I think it was versus Solar, his victory there. You know, why are you bringing out this mass bio style for stalling the second factory, not getting it at all, actually, and then like, really not even getting a lot from the first factory? And he said that he just felt good that day.
Yeah.
That he just, like, he felt like his hands were listening to him. So apparently it's happening again now. That is, of course, happening behind what is still a very scary push. Once again, lots of creep spread cleaned up, but perhaps a bit overzealous, forced to pick up as the huge surround came in. But that was, you know, kind of always an option, considering that he jumped on top of the Queens first and foremost. But the Hydras, if they were a little bit closer, if they had that speed done, could have been a little more sketch. As it is, 4 medevacs will be able to escape.
Yeah, 4 medevacs getting out, of reinforcements coming once again as Maru just going to keep up the pressure. A few more Widow Mines on the way now, his 2-2 start, and that's something that Lambo has not gone straight into. Maru's +2 armor was a little bit delayed, and there is the 2-2 from Lambo, so we'll still have a little bit of an upgrade lead for Maru as he keeps the pressure up. I mean, equal supplies generally is not good for the Zerg. They want to be, you know, 10-15 supply ahead, mostly because they have a few more drones, but yeah, being this low on army might be a little bit troubling. Let's see how he can do to hold on. His Widow Mines are going to keep on burrowing, and if they get good shots off, a lot could happen here. First one, not too crazy, as Maru continues to push the top, but he's also got to split away on the bottom side, and right now there's not enough Balins to really push this back. These Marines finally lifting up and getting away, but the mine shot was pretty darn good, and now we continue on the right side.
You know, Maru's getting a 4th command center on location with this. I mean, it really is very action-packed. Perhaps when you go for a decent amount of factory units, it's a little more of like a wait and push, and the push is really large and intimidating, but it's not as much of just like action, 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 action. In this style of play, Maru is supposed to be kind of on the forefront for an extended period of time, either with a couple of drops, literally 2 sets of 2, 3 sets of 2, whatever it is, or just pushing on both angles, which he is doing. The right side maybe wasn't that pretty, but then there's a left side army that is coming in now. There's the idea that Maru does have so much production that, every time we look at this and we're like, oh, is that too bad for the Terran? Again, because it's not more of the push, hope that it does a lot, then pull back. It's just go, 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 go. We kind of have to reconsider. It's actually a matter of draining the Zerg to a certain degree. And Maru kind of feels like it is going effectively enough. Again, with that 4th command center on location, turn to planetary, advanced upgrades as well. I mean, Lambo is doing a great job holding on, but I feel like it only goes even more complicated the more that Maru gets units under his belt.
Yeah, and obviously with Maru having such a fast forward CC so easily, he can just start to adapt to the fact that Lurker Den is finished, Hive is done. Those upgrades on Lurkers are, what, like a minute and a half out? So he should be able to get a Ghost Academy, slow this game down himself if he wants to. That's something we know he can do, as right now he's trying to battle his way out over here. That should be one full medevac that dies. Nice pick up from Lambo as Maru is still pushing on the right side. And Lambo so far has been, I guess, controlling these little pushes and these little split ups. So far so good. We're going to fight a little bit off creep here as units do start to spread out. And Maru might be able to make this into a good fight, but Banelings do find Marines. A few Marauders that are left to jump into medevacs. The supply is still good for Maru, but remember, again, Lambo, he's got that tech now coming online. Adrenal Glands as well, +3 Carapace. And Maru's still losing medevacs here and there. Yeah, Ghost Academy and extra CCs all coming down. This is what Maru wants to push this into a later stage game.
Yeah.
That seems to be his choice right now because Lambo's just not getting let him get away with too much in the mid game.
As you said, there is always that option to do so, but you know, after the last couple of losses, the drops getting picked off, not being able to get anywhere really all that important, and then the push actually getting pushed back, and once again happening here, it does mean that Maru has to go into the more passive style of play. Well, to a certain degree anyways. We have this attack actually getting a 5th base. But yeah, he has to kind of move over into those ghosts, take that technology seriously that Lambo has been able to get up to, can't just depend on doing bio, and more bio as the lurkers start to pop out. So he does transition. I mean, I do want to give some credit to Lambo for holding on as well as he has. I mean, again, that's a series with Solar and Maru. It was like watching a tiger, like, yeah. I mean, I was gonna go with more graphic imagery, but it was bad, right? Solo could not keep up for that particular time. The Lambo has. He's gotten to this point, the high technology, but Maru's right behind him. The ghosts are coming out, still doing a lot of drops, and still very intimidating to go up against Maru in the late game.
Yeah, absolutely. The Adrenal Glands is gonna get cancelled. That's huge. It means these Lings are so much less effective than they could have been for so much longer. And that's actually really rough because you want a lot of Lings to fight against these, to fight with these Lurkers, basically. They are your buffer, so even better if they're running in and helping out. Yeah, that's really rough. Just losing that Adrenal Glands, having to rebuild the pool. A lot of Hydras coming up now as Lambo looks to max out, as Maru is still split up everywhere. He's unloaded the bottom right. He's got a Widow Mine here that could be big, but Lambo does at least dodge out of it. He kills both those Widow Mines that were trying to burrow. Now we actually scan, and Maru's just going to go. These couple Lurkers, not enough on their own. This base will fall, and he's stuck on 4 bases heavily.
Right, that is now absolutely a concern. I mean, his 5th, the one in the bottom right, where Maru's army is, I mean, that wasn't even really mining, but at least it was alive, and I was like, oh, maybe he'll eventually get to it. Well, that got bopped, and then this one got bopped, and really it is a very long time for a Zerg player not to be mining from a 5th base, and even though they get some more cost-efficient units like Lurkers, those Lurkers are not working out, man. They're trying to defend in as limited number as possible, but they are always getting overwhelmed, and then the mobility factor also being abused by Maru as he heads into the main base once again. This will be cleaned up perhaps, but there is so much more. Maru coming in with Ghost now on the offensive. Lambo, I know he has a bunch of Lurkers somewhere, but he is now getting ripped apart. It took a little while longer, but I feel like he is getting ripped apart.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, with the Ghost showing up, these Lurkers, they were already having a bad time. I mean, before the Ghost started sniping, we lost 7, 8 Lurkers maybe? And so that's just going to get even worse. He lost his 4th base here. That has to rebuild, but it's cancelled. There is a Lurker counterattack, and that's something at least which makes you some damage, but obviously a base 4 base is not good for Lambo right now. He needs more than that, and it just doesn't feel like that will get there because Maru now has time to get back home, clean that out, and he's still trading well on the other side. So are we even going to kill this base? Because right now these SCVs are keeping it alive, and I mean, there's other CCs to replace it even if it does fall, so there's just no real good outcome here for Lambo, unfortunately, as Maru should be looking to take a fight against this army that's now off creep, and he's going to line up some snipes. It's a lot of Lurkers, don't get me wrong. He does move into them a little bit, so maybe he needs to chill out a little bit right now, as we do just have a Widow Mine going down, and Lambo kind of on his last legs with this one army.
It is a pretty good army with that many Lurkers. I mean, there's going to be a decent amount of snipes, but not enough. The bio is starting to wear thin as well. The Ghosts, the Concave, is it going to be enough? Looks like it just might be. It got dangerously close, however, as some of the last Lurkers start to fall. That was a little sketch for Maru, but yeah, we do have the tap out. GG. Maru cleans up game number 1 at the, I guess, end of this game. I am still impressed with how it went. For Lambo's sake, but Maru did the thing. He did the thing where it was like, well, it could have died there, but I guess, good job not dying to that. But then there's still the second and the third thing and the fourth thing that Maru does, and you still, yeah, haven't gotten a jab in. When he did, in the end, looked promising, but then he was on 3 bases, and it was rather all in.
Yeah, no, it's just he just took too much damage, and it did feel like he was getting up to Lurkers okay, but you need a 5th base. You need something more, and when the Lurkers came out, they didn't trade well at all. They didn't have the effect that Lurkers usually have. It's like Lurkers take the field, and that swarm of Zerg gets so much more powerful. Suddenly they're a real threat on the map, and you've got to slow down as the Terran. That didn't happen at all. Maru kept on taking fights against the Lurkers, and slowing down, no, not in the slightest. In the end, he just ended up finally getting his ghost across the map and kept fighting during that entire time. I think that was the big deal breaker for the most part there. So, yeah. Hopefully we can see more of those games, though, where Lambo at least gets through that mid-game and into the later stages. Yeah. I know Maru's very good there, but that alone is sometimes a challenge.
Yes, absolutely. It's the issue against Maru in every single matchup, apparently. It's like, well, I did kind of well against him in the early game, so that's a A+. Did kind of well against the mid-game, A+, but then doing all of them with the late game as well, it's a little less likely to happen. It is tough. It is very tough, but hopefully Lambo can figure out another way to actually get a jab in, because I think that is kind of the most important part, is that if at any point in that game Lambo had gotten a decent run by, or, Lurkers could have maybe, done a little bit better, then mobilized with more harassment rather than the all-in that we saw. I do think that will mess up Maru's pacing, and then we'll see a drastically different game where Maru's not as much in control, but that is part of the difficulty. Lambo's going to be under a ton of pressure. Move on to inside and outs in the top right for Shopify Rebellion. He is Lambo.
Bottom left, taking the 1-0 lead. Now his map pick as game number 2 gets going. It's Onside Gaming's Maru.
I'm wondering if Lambo was anticipating the mass bio style. Since he got that scout in, he saw a 3rd CC, he saw the starport with a tech lab, and then that was, just a Raven. And then I'm pretty sure he didn't get a scout in afterwards. Which, if you had, maybe you saw that there was no second factory, the 3 extra barracks were a bit faster, and maybe that just, I think that would change your mentality and how you're approaching some of the engagements.
Yep.
Again, Lambo did a fine job. Maybe he was a little bit on the back foot, just kind of like mentally preparing for this, like, oh, okay, that's what you're doing, like, let me shift a little bit. But he did look okay. He looked good. I just am wondering, was he anticipating that? Now is he reminded, okay, there's kind of not just a bunch of build orders that I have to worry about, but there's also kind of the stylistic differences with bio that I have to worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. As we do see Reaper going to start out from Maru in the main base. When you look at the builds, of course, again, pretty standard for the first couple minutes. The only thing I think we're really going to see crazy early in the game is maybe Maru proxy Raxes one time, especially if he goes up 2-0 and he's like, Tropical Map 3, maybe I just proxy, right? See if it works. If not, I don't play the long game, right? That's just such a Maru attitude, really, though.
Yeah. He was, for a while there, he was kind of leading the idea that maybe a 2-Rax could be economical. It could be a macro opener.
That's very true.
Maybe a little less so nowadays. And as I said, it feels like he hasn't really been that guy for a while. I feel like not only the natural progression of a player and, age, I suppose, whatnot, but also like the COVID era, the online stuff. It was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. He started to, I don't know. In the past, it was like 2 racks every single IEM qualifier. You were like, great, I cast Maru for like 5 minutes. Because he would win doing that, so there's really no argument there. But then, I don't know, that was also online, so there's always that question of like, how is Maru really going to approach this? Well, everything was online for 2 years. Still even a lot more than normal. And it just feels like Maru just plays pretty much the same between that and an offline tournament.
Yeah, he doesn't really approach it differently at all, right? It's just... he plays what he believes he can win with easily a lot of the time, and sometimes that is just getting a couple proxies on the map. I know what you mean. It's like you always get excited. It's like, okay, we've got a really good matchup. Maru in a qualifier, we get to cast it. And it's like 10 minutes later, you're like, so looking for a game, guys. Anyone got a lobby going? Yeah,
to be honest, it was that, or it was like, oh, we're going to cast Flash in StarCraft 2. Oh, he didn't invite us to a lobby. Okay. All right.
That's the great one. It's like, these guys, like, you risk with them like 10 times. They just go.
Yeah. Really important, guys. Absolutely. Roaches, yes. Roach Warren is done. Maru just got in there to scout that, though, which is a huge bummer on the side of Lambo, because this was setting up to be basically a build order win with a fast third command center once again from Maru. Had it not been scouted, this would have been severe damage, if not straight up game ending. With it being scouted, really just the relatively simple adjustment to get, I was going to say a Banshee, but, you know, you do you, Maru.
Maru's like, I can land the Viking.
I guess so, yeah, okay.
I think he's just seen it early enough that he's like, yeah, keep the
bunker.
Viking. Yeah, got a
I guess
bunker up,
so.
land the Viking, bit of extra damage. Just doesn't seem worried about it at all. Tech Lab's coming on the factory. I guess the starboard is he actually counterattacks for a drone or two as well, which is nice. It just forces a bit more necessity out of the... So yeah, I mean, he's just got Marines popping out. I guess no add-on on the starboard, so he just feels like maybe that would have been too late as well. Definitely another way to look at it. Roaches and the Ravager arrive. Low ground bunker is set up, and First Bile will buy you a little bit of time, but now the repair's there, and he's target firing down the Ravager, as he was initially. And Ravager should go down, really. The Viking could have probably had it.
Yeah.
Either way, it's defended. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, I would have 100% panicked, but Maru read that very accurately. And this way, he doesn't really have to mess up his build so much. He did still get a tank, so I do think that was not intended from the get-go with his build. He swaps it over to get the Hellions, right? So he does mess up his build orders, really, quote-unquote, but he does have to adapt a little bit, but just not as much as, you know, he could have. He could have gotten the tank and the Banshees and then 3 bunkers, you know, one in the main and one in the high natural or something, and that would have been a severe over-defense. But as it is, kind of streamlines it, really feels very smooth. And Lambo is the one who had to cut more corners to do that. Or not cut corners, he had to cut his economy basically to do that. So not the strongest start for the Zerg. Definitely not what he was hoping for.
Yeah, no, and Terran has triple CC as well, so they're just cranking out SCVs. And I know Lambo's economy is still looking pretty okay. There's just the other things that are missing, right? You know, the other tech that hasn't been in play yet. Link speed is late, and that has a knock-on effect. I mean, what time are we going to start talking about Lair here? Extremely late compared to the Terran who's already getting stim up. There's Viking finds an Overlord on the map as well, which is fantastic, and just slowing Lambo down further, even into a supply block, and a pretty hefty one as well. So it's just little things that are going rough, and Maru powering up into extra barracks. A single upgrade. He does have double engineering base, so should go 1-1, which he just started while I was checking. And yeah, I mean, well, what more to say? Just good defense. He actually built a Raven again. Kind of interesting, especially when he only has 2 Hellions, which is all he built extra off the factory on the reactor. And it feels like Maru's just full of confidence, fully believes in what he wants to do, and is just ready to play the bio mid-game.
I don't think it'll be a move territory, but it will be maybe 3rd engagements. I feel like Maru would win them. He's just going to be in such a powerful position. The creep spread was already going to be a bit lackluster with the way the opening worked out, just the you have to do to do a fast roach attack. And then just a couple Hellions and a Raven denying even any attempt at decent creep spread into just the good economy that Maru's had, the streamlined builder like I was talking about, and probably a pretty nasty position of a push. What do you think Maru's going to go through? We have seen Terrans actually try to force it through this bridge if they get rid of the creep spread, but also just up to the 3rd base, kind of classic move there.
Yeah, just go straight up the left side with the 4th where it is as well, right? So.
Or that, actually.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I know Lambo doesn't have like a lot of options, but it feels like 1-1 right now, going so late after the Terrans. Yeah, I know Roaches probably do give you the best chance of holding initially, but it's that whole investment into Roaches to then probably play a Ling Bane after. It's just another thing that Lambo doesn't really want to be doing. Like, if you're going to play 1-1 Roaches, you want to be hitting some kind of a 1-1 timing. There's no timing here. When the Terran's so far ahead of you on 1-1, he's going to have combat shields before you would be able to attack. There's going to be multiple tanks out. This is very much so you're just playing Roaches versus Bio right now, and yeah, that is really not ideal. So Maru in a very strong position when it comes to army, setup, upgrades. See if he can follow through and close this 2nd game out.
Yeah, at least he got that.
Yeah, Viking goes down finally.
Finally. Invitation Pit is on the way. I mean, advancements past any just 1-1 Roach all in. But Maru has to take that idea seriously, that he could be the one that's under attack. And there's really no way, like, maybe he is in such a good position that even if Lambo was all inning, he could still do okay if he went on the offensive. There's no reason to. So basically, defend first, check things out. Okay, he's actually trying to transition out. Let's go for the push then. And this, well, it's going to get pounced on. So Maru's going to lose his first tank. Great anti-armor missile, however. And finishing before 1-1 is combat shields. So Maru just hit the perfect timing right there with an anti-armor missile. That was pretty great, and if only he had gotten that tank saved, then he would be in a really great position. He does have more tanks. They were just being rallied forward, but that's the only thing I guess that Lambo can say, like, well, I denied this push for now.
Yeah, I think Lambo jumping on it, and Lambo jumping on it obviously was a little anti-timing in some ways, but it was probably his best bet, not letting it get set up. So yeah, but like you say, it was still great for Maru because of the upgrades being in his favor in that moment. He's actually just taking these medevacs right across the right-hand side. That's a long way for Lambo to run from the top left to the top right of his main. He had no idea until right now. And so it's going to be a long journey back home, and I actually don't know how much he's going to lose here. It feels like he could lose quite a lot as Maru misloads into the base, and well, that's the Hive morphing in here. The drones start to pull for a moment. That's when you know the Zerg isn't sure about what's going to happen. The Hive building will go down. He's already started a new lair, and yeah, already it is just not looking pretty at all as these Marines will head to the low ground, probably cancel the base here. We start pushing the left, and there's just no mobility in the army of Lambo realistically, at least not enough to deal with this left versus right side setup at the moment. Maru is actually going to set up before cleaning up creep in the middle with the Raven.
Denied a lot of vision from Lambo with the way the opener worked out again. Being so confident, just go ahead and get the Viking anyway. Start clearing up the Overlords, and then the creep spread. Already hampered by the Zerg's decisions, and then Maru's Raven. Everything meant that Lambo really had no vision on that right side. And to drag your army all the way from the left, so all the way to the right, it's just going to be hard. Even if it was Pureling Baneling, that might not have made it in time. So, especially with the Roaches, it is quite a difficult position. Lambo is at least going to be able to say, I have some good technology. I'm settled on 4 bases at least. And that would have been an okay position. There's a lot of potential there. Lambo is definitely not just rolled over and died. But it is now tricky without that Hive. We are still talking about Maru finishing up 2-2 with a lot of tanks pushing through actually the right side. But if this gets sieged up, how is Lambo supposed to deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, great question. Tanks can take some good positions here. There's walls, there's rocks, there's ramps. Maru really can just kind of press forward and go as he wishes. There's a few units at home, obviously has to respect there's a little bit of a counterattack, and obviously a lot of the time the Terran wants to fully retreat in cases like this because you need to clean it up. You can't let them get on top of your production and hit your economy heavily, and you maybe don't do quite enough on the other side. So Maru will just pull back home. I mean, it costs Lambo a ton of units, right? So it's not like this is for free. He cleans up, he stops the position being taken, which is great. If these tanks keep firing on those Banelings, though, I mean, that's a lot of Banelings that die. Yeah, if Maru's paying a bit more attention, that's even better of a trade here, as he's actually already coming back over the right while also going up the left. He just, again, wants to play it everywhere at the same time, all the way throughout the series so far.
I mean, that was the best thing that Lambo could have done.
Absolutely.
Actually. Yeah, going through the middle like that, while it wasn't as devastating as it could have been, like if you actually gotten into the production, then it's a whole can of worms. But he was able to deny the push basically for a little while, and he did get those tanks, which it does really suck that it wasn't just Lings though, because Lings would have taken care of that no problem. It was expensive Banelings, some Roach Ravager, so it was still not the best for Lambo, but I think it was a great decision at the time. Now, once again, pouncing on the Terran before those tanks are all sieged. One is still on the low ground, but now missing 2 tanks that would have been battering down that hatchery. The mule drop was weirdly timed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume that was an accident and not like some weird 5-second delay on trying to repair a tank.
Yeah, I think that was like you feel like you just double-clicked back home before you clicked it down, or one of those weird hotkey situations. So Mule will go on a journey as you do see Maru continuing to pull units through the center of the map and just trying to fight these roaches. Again, I know the supplies are kind of similar, right? So it's like, Lambo, you know, why are we talking like Lambo's in so much trouble? Well, it's just his army composition is still nowhere near what it wants to be, with Maru ending up on Ghost already. Yeah,
exactly. And it is worth noting that sometimes there is that awkward moment where Zerg's not Hive Tech, like not Ultras, not Broodlords, right? It's mass quantity type situation. Does overpower someone with too many Ghosts, but I know there's a lot of people that will argue what is too many Ghosts. And then also, secondary, I don't think Maru's making that mistake at all. I don't think Lambo's going to be able to just overpower this. It is definitely going to be scary, and Maru is pushing into that right side base. He is also getting pushed again, though, so probably the best decision that Lambo can make at this point in time. Question is, can he actually turn this into a decent base trade? He's going to lose the hatchery, take care of some of the units off the left side before they're picked up, but the attack through Maru's main base, is that actually going to do enough damage? It looks like it's cleaned up whatever was defending, and it actually enters on top of that production. That is a big moment in TDZ.
Yep, absolutely. Lambo will be able to stop down reinforcements for a bit, and this is why we typically say you want to be kind of coming back home to deal with this stuff, and he does have some units, a lot of units coming back home to clean this out. He loses 30 SCVs. Obviously, all these units will go down. Is there any follow-up here from Lambo? Because the supply does drop a lot from Maru. Lambo has, you know, honestly quite a bit of money in the bank as well. If he can just get the lava to rebuild. He's got 7 right now. Heading into an Ultra Cavern. Is there a world? I mean, he's going to get even more SCVs. Maru's economy is going to be absolutely terrible for a few moments, but I fear that we lose too many units as Lambo. I mean, he's half the army supply. And again, he just can't really spend the money. Like, he's got 5 lava.
Yeah.
Whatever he builds is not going to use up all the cash that he's got. Apart from, like, Ultras would, but, well, they're a long way
terrible.
off. They need upgrades. There's ghosts out. Yeah, I don't even like the fact there's an Ultra Cavern down.
Right, like I feel like it is kind of almost a moot point. I feel like if there wasn't a lot of loss of economy on Lambo's side too, the hatchery's being killed, and he's just opening up opportunities, opening up places to explore, compositions to explore, you know, that's fair game. But I don't know if actually going into Ultras right now would be at all beneficial. Again, they're going to have to wait for chitinous plating, so even as he gets them, they're not going to be as good as they should be. And then when he does have them fully upgraded, the ghosts are already out there. So the game has definitely gotten more complicated because of Lambo's insistence on the run-bys through the middle of the map. All kudos to Lambo for that, but Maru was already in such a great position. Plenty of extra command centers. Did return home when he should have to clean things up and not make it weird. Although did not bother microing right there. And at the end of the day, his army is just so fantastic. Lambo taps out, and Maru takes a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, 1 map away from getting into that next round of the lower bracket. Would be then top 4 here in TSL, fighting for top 3, playing on the final day.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff. So we have ourselves a little first-person view replay from Maru here, as this was the moment where he jumps in the main base. And this army was just so out of position, of course, for Lambo. It took ages to get here. A few moments definitely feel like Maru miscontrolled, right? He like loaded back up the medevac early. He's just going to dive in, just going to start building a CC and stuff, finally comes back, ends up just heading off, and he's already ready to attack with that left side army as well, right? Just so much happening. Well, that one attack goes down, and boom, he's ready to fight over here again. Oh, this is our mule, so apparently we're going to see what happens with the mule.
Definitely a mistake.
Definitely a mistake.
You know, in the main base, it almost looked like he went into almost like bad old habits, where he was into very effective APM. Like he was just kind of spamming over the medevacs and stuff.
Just like
and then he was like, stop that. And he got better as we watched it too. It's really interesting about the first person view. Yeah. Excellent choice there from Maru. I do feel like, again, Lambo made some great choices. I think he worked with the map pretty well, too. You know, the way that worked out was that Maru was trying to get the attack paths to the left and the very right, and then the opening in the middle was there. Maybe that doesn't exist on another map, or maybe it takes too long on another map, right? So that was good abuse. Maybe Maru maybe could have taken it more seriously, because that did definitely make it go, wait a second, still not enough, but still, like that was the questionable part. Maru was able to close it up, get the 2-0. Now we move on to Tropical Sacrifice, where I do feel like this is actually just the perfect map to say, like, this would not happen. Or the Lambo attack to the middle of the map, I'm not sure are going to happen like that on a map like this. And we'll get into it as we introduce the players, I guess, after we introduce the players. Top right, Lambo, down 0-2.
Told you ZG up a couple games. Tropical Sacrifice.
Why
not proxy a little bit? Yellow Terran player in the bottom left, and soon to be on the far right is Maru.
Well, Lambo definitely can't go through any middle points to counterattack, because it'll be all about the defense of the 2 racks. I guess I'd also like to remind people, like we're on our last Terran, right? And on our last Shopify Rebellion player. Also our last Korean player. Maru is repping the region right now. And he's doing it in true Korean Terran style. 2 racks.
Absolutely. 2 racks, no third racks. Overlord will spot this early, which is obviously good info for Lambo, and there's the realization right now of what this is. As he does
is he like nodding? Is he like, yep.
Yep. I expected, you know, it's Maru. Goes pulver for the gas as well, so it's going to get that down. And that just means the lungs, the queen, a little bit faster to produce here. And as Maru, I don't know if pulling the drones over here was my favorite call. I feel like you saw it just too late for this to be super great.
I agree. I agree with you. Unfortunately, Lambo.
Maybe it does work. For a bit, delays.
I mean, I feel like that barracks is supposed to finish, but
I feel like the first SCV that got hit ran too far away, like way further than it needed to.
Yeah, I thought with 2 SCVs still alive, this would finish. But guess we're wrong.
No.
Casters, please. Obviously, this is a great idea. Lambo.
Down.
Just stopping everything in there.
Cancels, builds a Reaper. Wow. I feel like he could have gone for it, though. Like,
I
first SCV commits, goes to the other side once or twice. The second SCV comes and continues.
Yeah.
I'm almost convinced it would have finished. But
yeah. We're going to get the replay. You're going to see us at, like, the headquarters playing from replay.
Recover from replay? Yeah, I think I could make it finish.
Yeah, okay. We're going to do this afterwards. It's
Gonna
going to
do
be
this
downtime content, guys.
Downtime content.
No one ever uses it. I
Yeah.
told someone that I was talking to about it, and they were like, mine was blown. They were like, you serious?
And
And I was like, yeah, you could do that.
You can just recover. You can just play from a position.
Yeah.
Literally, like very rarely people use it.
Oh, no. And people totally forgot about it. I think people were like really gung-ho when it was first released, but then they just completely forgot about it. Plus, there's like some bugs that would happen. Like you have to have the same overlay or something, and people would get annoyed by it.
Yeah, you have to set your overlay to default. Like you can't have like a observer UI on because then you can't take over the game. So
yeah, that type of thing. So people get annoyed by it and they just don't remember. But yeah, if you ever wanted to do it, I used it once, literally to prove to someone like I told you so.
Yep.
So I'm always going to remember that. I'm always going to have it as an option. Anyways, Ling's got a little bit of a run by in, whatever you want to call it. Really, point is there's going to be a bit of an opening. Maru swapped out for just kind of a not even a proxy Reaper. Just came back home, let his command center finish. But it's going to be 3CC off the back of. Gotta call it a failed T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely a failed T-Rex. No, I'm genuinely kind of. I don't know what I am, honestly, CG. I'm still a little bit perplexed, I suppose. I mean, Lambo nodding his head. He seemed to know. He seemed to like the fact he saw it. He seemed to feel like it was a good time. And like I say, for him, it was absolutely the correct call. So, yeah, maybe it never does finish. Maybe the analysts can tell us more after the series. But, yeah.
Actually, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but Lambo wants to analyze the series, win or lose. Yeah, we'll see. We'll hear it from him no matter what. Whether he's like, yeah, 100% I knew I wasn't going to do it for it. Stupid commentators.
He's like, are you dumb? Do you see this?
It definitely sounds like Lambo.
How do you ever think this could finish? I'm like, well, I don't know. Bias Terran.
You just like, we increasingly get like smaller and smaller as he yells at us. It's like, I don't know. I'm
so sorry.
Yeah, all right. So 3CC, it's going to be gotten away with. I do feel like this was really back in the day, like Wings of Liberty, maybe Heart of the Swarm. There was a lot of Zergs that would try and immediately all in after dealing with a T-Rex. And then, I don't know, I feel like Terrans got better at making sure that wouldn't work, and then Zergs just got better at kind of rolling out of it anyways, macro-wise. They're comfortable doing this, but yeah, in a professional setting, I remember the last time I saw like a T-Rex like fail or not do okay, and then the game ends thanks to like a Baneling bust. I feel like it usually goes this way. But anyways, I'm sure there's plenty of evidence that it doesn't, but it just feels that way. So we are going to get ourselves a mid-game TVZ. And it is kind of arguable that Lambo has, I guess... like, it's not like Lambo killed 17 Marines that were made unnecessarily. It was one of those weird T-Rexes where the Terran's like, yeah, okay. And the Zerg's like, yeah. And then it just kind of goes on from there. And you're like, all right, next important thing. What do the Hellions get? What do the Banshees get? What do the Banelings get?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like it's like, yes, obviously Lambo has a bit of a lead, but it's like, it's one bad trade, one bad fight away from just evening out. And can I just say it? Raven, third game in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is just Maru saying I don't want to reveal much. I'm playing against Reno next. If I win this right, I'm just going to kind of keep on doing the same kind of thing so I can mix it up more in the series afterward. But, yeah, obviously right now it does... it's kind of amusing because like you said, you're like, well, you know, there's more common now, but not 3 games in a row common.
Apparently, Maru's setting the trend.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be doing Ravens all the time now.
Look at the upgrade times for Maru as well. 1-1's still pretty darn quick.
Yes, he has had the upgrade lead every single game. Doesn't matter if he T-Rexes or not. Yeah. Tropical Sacrifice, also one of the big macro, potentially even turtle maps that Maru could go to, if again that is the only option left to him. Things go even worse as the mid-game goes on, which I don't think they will, but just saying. It's going to be a very obnoxious map to face Maru on. That's actually a pretty good lineup.
He's gonna lose more.
And another one, and the attempt to block didn't work out, and the Raven is barely going to live. Oh!
I mean, very conservative from Maru. I think there's a pretty decent size, pretty decent potential to just go in there and kill more drones with the Hellions and still probably keep them alive because, well, yeah, I mean, they just had a great chance. They could have got more drones straight away, maybe even made the natural. Yeah, risky, and I guess that's what's great about Maru. He doesn't feel the need to get more than that. He is just like, okay, I can pull back, I can sit back. Yeah, nice and easy and just be pretty okay with it. His 1-1 upgrades are going to be finishing up shortly here from Maru, and that's going to lead into a push just after losing those drones for Lambo. What a bad timing, because now he's been building drones instead of prepping with units. and that could make all the difference.
And Maru is going to be following this aggression up with all of those barracks. No second factory, so commence the battles. A lot of battles. And again, with the Raven still alive, clearing up that creep spread, Lambo's going to be a little more in the dark, just so we could have another fantastic drop into the main base at some point in time. I can't believe that Raven is still alive, by the way. It must be on 2 health at this point. And that is a quick cancel on a 5th base. Lambo does have a run-by heading into the natural, which is giving Maru some trouble. And there was a potential that Maru wasn't paying attention on the front lines, but he does that and deals with the run-by the looks of things. It's going to get into the main basically for mass chaos, or not even actually, but at that point it was just like about carrying chaos, which he would have loved to have capitalized on by cleaning up this drop. Maru, though, too darn fast. Like I said, he said, if he feels it, he's going to do it. If he's feeling the game, if he's feeling the bio, if he's feeling the multi-tasking, he will go for this. And we know that Maru, at his peak, definitely one of the fastest players.
Resources lost is disgusting, by the way. 837 to 3134. Like, that's just not meant to be a thing this deep into the game, when Lambo, in theory, should have had a bit more of an advantage playing into it. These Marines just, one died. Oh my goodness, man. How inefficient of you. Yeah, based on how he's been doing that, kind of was inefficient. So, another attempt to cancel a 5th base, right? Probably going to be successful, as Lambo is going to try and get down here. I did think there was more Marines coming in. It's actually Hellbats, but still good enough to get the cancel. Drone chase down a bit as well, and Maru's just like, yes, Hellbats, go do your thing, as we're killing drones elsewhere. And man, it is just adding up as we try and run by again, but there's units here already, and Lambo has to turn around with a run by after being up the ramp and on top of units. It's never great, because you're just taking free damage, and Maru is just all over this 3rd game already, ZG.
I feel like Lambo is doing a better job. I mean, maybe he's allowed to be doing a better job. I mean, but the point is, like, he is getting more run-bys. And these run-bys always seem like they're just barely going to be enough, actually. So he barely gets to the main base. He barely actually gets on top of those SCVs. And Maru is just on the ball and pulls the SCVs away, has enough reinforcements with the mass production that he has, that the run-bys don't actually cause enough chaos. They do not cause Maru to completely retreat or to be looking a wrong direction when something else important is happening. I'd still love to see more. Maybe it'll eventually happen, but now Lambo going up against the brick wall of Maru's bio off of creep is definitely going to have to retreat from that idea.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to try and fight this. I
don't know.
Plus 2 attack just finished as well, so it's a little upgrade lead from Maru. It's off creep. It's just not the fight. It's desperation from Lambo. He clearly feels like he's losing control of this game. He's like, well, if I'm losing control right now, maybe it's now or never. Maybe I've got to go. Maybe I've got to try my best. Yeah, but obviously sometimes that's just going to make the situation even worse. And Maru is going to march up this ramp 2-2 against 1-1 right now as he pushes on in. Lambo's supply blocked, and Lings are dying as they spawn.
Yeah. It's a bad sign. Also, this macro hatchery not exactly giving him a great position to defend. Does get a bit of a wraparound, but also with the Marauders being added in, the Army of the Terran's just chonky, man. So either you barely don't kill a lot of the Marauders, or they soaked up, you know, a dozen Banelings on their way out. So either way, it's still kind of painful, even when the engagement, you know, if that was pure Marine, I mean, that just might be it. But nope, not there. Plus the pickup saved a lot of things. Lambo does get Maru away for a hot second, but Maru still looking to continue the pressure at some point, has a 4th base as a planetary, and might just be heading over to that right side to once again deny Lambo's 5th base, although it looks like his top left is finally mining.
Yeah, that is something at the very least, but it's not exactly like a great amount of drones. 74 drones in the game. Another supply block as Overseers are going down. It's just painful, right? Bottom right base looks to be in trouble. Maru is now in the center and the bottom right, so he's hitting 2 places at once, and he's going to play this kind of efficiency game again. Burrow up a mine, pull back a little bit, let the medevacs lift sometimes. That's a nice Widow mine shot as well, so he completely wins this fight in the center. And the bottom right already cancelled base. This Balin's now rolling in off creep into Marauders. Just not a single fight goes Lambo's way. And now he's going to lose another base in the bottom right corner of the map as well. So it's just non-stop. Maru is just dealing damage that Lambo is never recovering from.
Yeah, it feels like Lambo thinks that this attack through the middle might just have enough momentum to get into the natural, get into the main, again on top of production, does make things very odd. But it can't actually even do that, so it settles for 3rd base SCVs. He has a decent chunk of them, but Maru is going up to 5 base at this point. 3-3 is also a timer that Lambo has to worry about, and he did just lose a base, a very important base in the bottom right, an equally important base in the middle right, and a macro hatchery. So in total, 3 hatcheries down. Larva will probably become an issue And Lambo not getting the momentum that he's really looking for, even as he once again forces lift off of the third base. Maru, he's going to be able to stop the flow. He's not going to get overrun, and I think that's what Lambo actually needed to happen, was an overrunning situation. It's not happening.
Yep, Ling Bang continuing through, but obviously Maru brought his other units back. GG is called, and